Urbanization's effects on businesses and corporations. Introduction. The rate of urbanization across the globe is rapidly increasing every day. In fact, every week, demographics suggest that about 1 million people move from rural to urban areas, and more people are moving from farms to cities compared to the other way around. It is calculated that in around 2,000 years, if we continue to urbanize at this rate, there will be no more rural areas across the globe. If we get to a point where all our land is urbanized, this would mean that we would have to grow our crops in greenhouses, which would be very polluted, and this would lead to more illnesses across the globe. Because of the fact that the poor cannot afford to invest in these businesses, with rapidly occurring urbanization, the rich just become richer and the poor become poorer. Urbanization also leads to the destruction of nature. Everything from animals, their habitats, birds and their migration, water and air quality, and even our lifespans and health would all be jeopardized by urbanization. But even with all these cons, as many people say, and even some of our politicians say, jobs are the #1 priority. And this is not entirely wrong either, because jobs attract foreign immigrants and could decrease the number of poor in our land. People living in urbanized areas would also have a more convenient lifestyle because their population threshold is higher, and as Walter Kristaller's theory suggests, this would allow more businesses in highly densely populated areas. Healthcare and education are also more easily accessible in urbanized areas. Ask the expert. With demographic calculations that suggest in 2,000 years we will not have any more farmland, how will we ensure that we still have healthy and organic food? Will all of our intake be genetically modified? This would significantly impact our lives, and this would just be personal gain for the companies and corporations. Another question. How large of an effect does urbanization have on our environment? Will zoning laws still be effective, or will some residential populations be forced to reside near zones that should not be together, like for example, industries and parks? Our wordle represents the topic in 3 different ways. The colors and the shape of the wordle pair together very well. It represents a tree, which is the environment, being taken over by a black background, which represents destruction, and the clear cutting, which is done in order to create houses for urbanization. The biggest words in the wordle are opportunity, business, and services. These words are what the businesses and corporations see in urbanization. But to also represent how urbanization has its cons, if you look closely, you would notice that the foundation of the wordle is farms, because farms must be destroyed in order to pave the way for urbanization. Perspectives. Some farmers may actually prefer urbanization to an extent, because as long as their farms are not being pressured to be taken over, the more farmers that move, the more farmland for the farmers that decide to stay. This means that as long as the farmers can tend to all the crops and handle the business, they'll be making more of an annual profit. Businessmen would also support urbanization because the more businesses and corporations they can invest in, the more money they can make. Society could also benefit with this because it would create more jobs, but that is considering only short-term impacts. If you consider long-term impacts, the effects to the environment outweigh these other things. Conclusions. Urbanization has many pros and cons, so the only way to decide if it is a good thing or a bad thing is if we consider this final question. Are we saving our future for today or reserving it for the generations tomorrow?